Well, this year, about 97% of voters will have the option to cast their general election ballots early. That's a huge increase from the 2000 election when just about 40% of voters were able to do so. Since then, 22 additional states have implemented early voting options. CBS News election law contributor David Becker is joining us now. He's the founder and executive director of the Center for Election Innovation and Research, and he oversaw the team that worked on this report. Thanks for joining us again. So what's the significance of this shift, and how does it sort of shift voter turnout?
Well, I think there's a couple of big significant aspects of this. First of all, voters often hear stories from the media and others that voting is hard, that they're truthful stories about how some legislators unsuccessfully usually are trying to make it harder to vote. But in reality, it's easier to vote now than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. And this is really important as voters are weighing the decision about whether or not they should turn out to vote in the primaries and ultimately in the November general election. And what we're seeing, as you mentioned, about 60% of all voters had to vote on Election Day as recently as 2000. And as it stands today, that percentage is only 3%. Only 3% in 4 states, Alabama, Mississippi, New Hampshire, and Delaware, have to vote on Election Day. And every other state has an option at least to vote early in person. And most states have an option to also vote by mail without an excuse.
So we saw a peak in early voting during the 2020 election while we were in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Was that a catalyst for expanding options? And do you believe that those changes will be lasting?
So I think it didn't end up being a catalyst because we were already moving in that direction so heavily. More voters than ever before, about 69% of voters chose to vote earlier by mail during the 2020 election, probably due to COVID. What we're seeing in subsequent elections, like in 2022, that number is retreating just a little bit down to about 50%. But it shows you that about half of voters, maybe more in 2024, like the option of voting early in person or by mail, and many also like the option of voting on Election Day. And this is one of the reasons we've seen this be a bipartisan reform across the country. There are deeply red states that offer early and mail options to vote. There are deeply blue states that offer the same. This is something voters really prefer, and this is why we rarely see, in fact, never see states roll these back once they're established. There's something that voters are voting with their feet.
So I was just trying to see what voter turnout rates are like now in the U.S., right? And this is so I'm just Googling really quickly here as we're talking, looking at Pew Research. They've got the last numbers they have is from 2020, and they have it at 62%, which is still a lot lower than a lot of countries around the world. I mean, ultimately, right, this could be very good for democracy, I'm assuming. Do we see higher rates of voter turnout when people have the option to mail in?
So the ease of voting, the option to vote earlier by mail by itself doesn't yield higher turnout rates, particularly in big elections like presidential elections. But it does provide the opportunity for campaigns and candidates to get the vote out much better than they have in the past. You see both parties trying to quote unquote bank votes. They get people to vote early in person or by mail. And that means they don't have to use resources on Election Day to turn those voters out. We do see high turnout in some recent elections. I think it's probably more related to some of the campaign effects and their feelings about the candidates. You know, if ease of voting alone made turnout go higher, we would have expected that the 2020 election, where people were worried about getting sick during the COVID pandemic, would have had very low turnout. And instead, we saw the highest turnout in American history in 2020 in the presidential race, with more than 20 million ballots cast than ever before in any election.
That makes a lot of sense, though, for the parties, because if you can sort of get your guaranteed votes to get them in early, then you can spend your resources, your money, and your attention on the people that are really going to make a difference in this election, which are the undecideds, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's exactly right.
So, David, as you know, Alabama, Delaware, Mississippi, and New Hampshire are the only states that don't allow early voting. What's going on there, and what's the broader reasoning against every voting given by those who oppose it, against early voting given by those who oppose it?
So it's unclear, and I don't think it's necessarily a partisan issue. We've actually seen some regional variations here. Many of these options originated interestingly, in the West, in both red states, Republican-led states like Utah and Montana and Arizona, and in blue states like California and Washington, where a lot of these options were first developed. So there were regional aspects here. And actually, the Northeast is one of the last places to adopt some of these early voting reforms. Delaware, for instance, tried to adopt them. They passed a law that would have allowed for early voting and mail voting, but the Delaware Supreme Court recently ruled that that was unconstitutional according to their state constitutions. They're going to try to probably amend that to some degree, but they are outliers. What we've seen is across the country, every state is basically accepting the fact that not only do early voting and mail voting provide convenient options for voters, they also make elections much more secure. Because if there's a problem with an election, a technical problem, weather, power outage, a cyber event, and you've discovered in early voting, you can recover from that before the close of the polls. But if you concentrate all your voting on a single day, about 12 to 15 hours, that's a single point of failure where if you have a problem, it's going to be difficult to recover.
I'm glad you said that, David, because as you know, what critics say about early voting is it's more susceptible to fraud and manipulation, and that is absolutely not the case.
100%. David Becker,
That's right. It's
always,
false.
yeah, David, always great to have you, my friend. Thank you.